I honestly can't believe it. But some Republicans are actually growing a spine right now, and they are looking to end Trump, end his plan to militarize America, to militarize the world, to expand his authoritarian project to only be constrained by his own morality, which is just an oxymoron. But they are stepping up, and they are doing a little bit of travel to make sure that it really hurts for Donald Trump. We are going to get into the Republican blowing up Trump's Greenland plan. Actually, it's a couple of Republicans now and one senator. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now I want to get into what one Republican senator is doing to end Donald Trump. But I want to start with an update on what you need to know. That's kind of being kept from us right now, as it relates to Donald Trump's plans that were broken down by a Democratic senator, Chris Murphy, in this clip right here.
The foreign minister of Denmark and the foreign minister from Greenland. I just wanted to give you a readout. What I thought was remarkable is that they talked to us about how the entirety of Greenland and the entirety of Denmark right now is focused on whether there's an invasion coming from the United States of America. The network ratings for the coverage of the foreign ministers' meetings in the United States broke records in Denmark and in Greenland. We talked about the fact that the American people don't support military action. The people of Greenland have zero interest in joining the United States. This would be a cataclysm. The United States going to war with Europe. No one in Greenland wants that. Nobody in Europe wants that. Nobody in the United States of America wants that. And so we're trying to show Denmark that they have support on both sides of the aisle in Congress. But we need our Republican colleagues to speak up right now. We need our Republican colleagues to say what they know to be true, that there is absolutely no reason for these provocations. We had an article today that suggested, unsurprisingly, one of Trump's billionaire friends has some pretty big business interests in Greenland. So as we're trying to understand why Trump wants an invasion of Greenland, part of it is probably to distract from his corruption domestically, but part of it may be that he's got friends who can make money off of the United States taking more control over Greenland or taking total control over Greenland. So I thought this was a good meeting to show that there's Republicans and Democrats in the Senate that are supporting Greenland, but it's not enough to do these private meetings.
Donald Trump doesn't have ultimate authority, as much as he would like you to believe that he does. And that's kind of part of this. He thinks that if he can steamroll international leaders and have them fall in line, or at least not hit back, then it gives him more power at home. Ultimately, let's be real, that is what Donald Trump is after right now. He wants us to think, as he always has, that he is inevitable, because when we have that belief, then he can get us to fall in line on anything, which we cannot allow to happen. And Donald Trump is trying to strongman his way into doing so, which is why he is making an announcement about his favorite tool to carry out corruption and misdeeds, his tariffs.
Germany, no, we will not do that. I said, no, we're going to put a 25% tariff, which is, by the way, about 7 times more than they would have to pay by raising their drug, like 7 times. This wasn't like a little bit more, 7 times more. And I may do that for Greenland, too. I may put a tariff on countries if they don't go along with Greenland, because we need Greenland for national security.
Donald Trump is terrified of an upcoming Supreme Court case that could eliminate his ability to levy tariffs however he pleases without congressional approval. For this very reason, because Donald Trump doesn't care about the economic impact, the negative economic impact. He just knows it's a tool to put the squeeze on anyone that he wants to. That is what Donald Trump is after with his tariffs. Let's be very, very clear about that. He wants to scare world leaders into giving him a Nobel Peace Prize, into giving him a crown, and a Big Mac into giving him Greenland. But one Republican is not going to allow that to happen. It seems. Well, actually 2. But one's in the Senate who made a big announcement today. That was Lisa Murkowski. You're gonna want to watch this whole clip.
Occupying Greenland. What can your visit here, what can the Congress do to stop him? Because it hasn't gone away now for a year.
I think it's an important message for the people of the Kingdom of Denmark to understand. And I don't want to go into a basic civics lesson here, but we have three separate but equal branches in the United States. The executive, the presidency is clearly one, and you're hearing from the executive branch. The Congress also has a role. The Congress has a role, certainly when it comes to spending authorities. The Congress has a role in basically helping to facilitate the message that comes from our constituents to be reflected in whether it's legislation or appropriations or actions or measures that can indicate, again, the will of the Congress. And I think it is important to underscore that when you ask the American people whether or not they think it is a good idea for the United States to acquire Greenland, the vast majority, some 75%, will say, we do not think that that is a good idea. This senator from Alaska does not think it is a good idea. And I want to build on the relationship that we have had. As Aya and I penned in an op-ed about a year ago, Greenland needs to be viewed as our ally, not as an asset.
U.S. Senator threatens to use congressional tools to block Trump's Greenland grab. Alaska's Lisa Murkowski warns Trump. U.S. Congress wields power of the purse. U.S. Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski threatened Friday to invoke congressional powers to stop Donald Trump from following through on his threats to seize Greenland. Speaking to reporters in Copenhagen after taking part in a bipartisan delegation of U.S. lawmakers meeting with Danish and Greenlandic officials, McCaskill, in Alaskan, who is a regular critic of the president, said it was an important message for the people of the Kingdom of Denmark to understand that the U.S. has three branches of government. In Congress, we have tools at our disposal under our constitutional authority that speaks specifically to the power of the purse through appropriations, she said, referring to the congressional control of federal spending. She added that Greenland, a self-ruling Danish territory, should be seen as an ally rather than an asset. Congress's ability and its duty to take back power from Donald Trump ultimately is what he is most worried about come 2027. Let's be real. At the beginning of Donald Trump's term, he could have never believed that it was going to fall apart this quickly. But that is the place that we were in right now. Donald Trump is losing power to a Republican House and a Republican Senate. Every day there are more discharge petitions that come to the floor for votes for Republicans to have to give a yay or nay that will be held against them in midterms that are coming up, that are going to be a bloodbath. And Donald Trump knows that. But the Senate is a huge shock to Donald Trump that they are stepping in. And of course they are. If you are a senator, it is like it should be a selfish decision that you are making to oppose Donald Trump, not a selfless one. You should want to keep the power you have to legislate, the power you have to hold a president accountable. And if you're a Republican in the Senate, shouldn't you want that in the future for a Democratic president? It's funny, you always see Republicans let it slip that they know what they're doing is unconstitutional, is wrong, should be stopped. And when they talk about what a Democrat could do in the future, oh, a scary Democrat. Oh, President AOC, President Gavin Newsom, they ask the question, well, what if President AOC wanted to send masked men into Oklahoma or Arkansas or Texas? Then what would we do? What if a President AOC, sick the DOJ after Ron DeSantis? Or I guess he's gonna be long gone out of our politics by then. So Greg Abbott, what's gonna happen then? And what they're saying is, Donald Trump has made us defend and justify his actions now. So what if Democrats use those justifications in the future? That is what they're terrified of. And that is why Donald Trump is worried right now, because the end has already come. The lame duckness has started. And it's not just in the Senate, where we continue to see some surprising pushback, but in the House that is in full revolt. And Don Bacon has been the loudest in pushing back. But what he said right here in this interview should scare Donald Trump for a number of reasons.
We got to speak up and say it's wrong. You don't threaten a NATO ally. They've been a great ally. We've had bases on there since World War II. Denmark has fought with us by our side in Iraq and Afghanistan. So I feel like it's incumbent on folks like me to speak up and say that these threats and bullying of an ally are wrong. And just on the weird chance that he's serious about invading Greenland.
Mike Johnson no longer has power. Donald Trump no longer has power. These people are simply just not in charge anymore. That is the current standing for his house. And it's getting smaller and smaller, and it is embarrassing for Donald Trump. And again, I have to come back to these discharge petitions because it's not just a sign of political weakness for Donald Trump. Yes, that is one thing, and that is important. But it is also a very big political issue when we are looking at these individual races as this majority in Congress gets smaller, as we see the passage of more discharge petitions, as more Republicans feel pressured to get some positive up or down votes for them. Like Mike Lawler, who just saw his district go from lean red to a toss-up in a recent poll. Mike Lawler is worried. So he is desperate to have more discharge petitions in which he could vote on something like extension of the ACA subsidies come forward. Right? He desperately wants that. But it's just a small group of Republicans. But let's think about those other Republicans. Those Republicans who previously thought that they were in safe seats. Right? The shifts that we have seen from 2024 to current elections. Like what we saw last year with Abigail Spanberger, Mikey Sherrill. Or we can even just talk about some of those runoffs in which Democrats didn't win. But the shift was massive. 15-point Trump district in 2024 is not enough to just save you your seat. You can't kick your feet up. If you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.